I don't know what to say to some of you cheeky devils, but I'm here. It's 17 minutes past 8, starting slightly later than normal. Here is Live Irish Myths. Welcome, 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 my dear people, to the Mythical Ireland Library. This is episode number 247, not far off the 250 now. And we're back to the Social History of Ancient Ireland by Patrick Weston Joyce. Volume 1, published 1903. A very good evening to you if you're weird. A wizard is never late. And for those of you speculating as to my whereabouts, I was not taking a nap. I was not sleeping. I was having some technical issues. Let's just say a software update decided to happen at the wrong time. Anyway, we're here. Better late than never. And as I said, a wizard is never late, as I said in my first comment. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to. Anyway, good evening, good afternoon. Elaine Dentlingenfelter, unsurprisingly, despite our 17 minutes of tardiness, is the first commenter. 19 Celsius, oh, just stop. It's only 66 Fahrenheit today. Oh, my heart bleeds. Brax is saying hello, I think. Brax is on YouTube, and if you're on YouTube, folks, don't forget, subscribe to the channel. Greetings, Gandalf, says Marcus. Thank you. Marcus, very good evening to you. Anne McCallum is in the house. Hope everyone's in fine form. Was 8 Celsius earlier, but now reached today's high of 13. Just got back from a long weekend of dancing in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Hotel was right on the boardwalk / promenade. Wonderful to be by the Atlantic Ocean. Now story time. Yes, sounds nice. And it's a lot cooler. It's probably about 8. No, it's 11 here right now. Surprising. It was a lovely sunset and a lovely twilight here. Nice and clear. Excuse me. Tuesday Thompson says, Happy Mythology Monday. Yes, indeed. And happy Tuesday to you. When it comes around, Anna L., who's just down the road. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. And Scott Doherty is in Clare. And what a wonderful evening. Well, I hope it's similar down there, and some beautiful colours in the sky this evening. Did you see the halo around the sun today? Oh, well, I did over the Boyne Valley. I'm not sure if anyone else did. Marcia Downs is saying, good evening to the Tua community. Sláinte, August, Tu Féin, Marcia. How are you keeping? Wayne Bird is in the house. Hello there, Wayne. Welcome to episode 247. Lily Shambles. Let me just check. Yes. Let me just check up on this now. One moment, please. Yeah, there was definitely somebody of that name saying something. Let me just check here now. Just somebody was getting sort of kind of worried. Everything okay, says Elaine Dentlingenfelter. He didn't go poking around a she-mount, did he, said Caitlin. And Joe Butler said the wizard is never late. John Inman suggests that I never get enough sleep. What's up, says John Inman. That's the question. Joe Butler was concerned. Thank you. Unless he's got no change for the meter, was Lily Shambles' comment. Yeah. And then she said, probably having a nap. Nope. Software update. But there you go. Joe Butler, Auntie Joe, another sunny, cool, and perfect day. Glad you could make Anthony Murphy. Well, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad there were people waiting. I mean, that just shows something, doesn't it? Still devastated about Ireland's exit from the World Cup. Me and my partner were cried. Congratulations to the New Zealanders. Yes, well, it was a hell of a battle. And to deciding, well, I think Ireland, there was an easy New Zealand try. And then the guy who got himself under the ball, that was, I mean, I think that saved New Zealand, really, you know. It's all about what could have been. Alan Hoskins is saying, hi, everyone from a chilly but nicely fresh Ballina Killaloe. Hope all well. All in good form, Alan. Good to see you again. Or Burgess 22. My second time catching live. It pays to skip my afternoon nap. Exactly. Yes. And exactly what I did. They're all suggesting I was late because I was sleeping. Rex Fortenberry is in an autumnal Louisiana. Got the pipe weed loaded and ready to go. Share it round, Rex. Share it round. Sheila Gunn is saying it's cool in Ontario. And we are heading into that time of the year where it is going to be cool in Ontario. No live feed on Facebook, really. No, it's there, all right. Yeah, I can. That's there. You might have to just update Facebook, Wayne. But anyway, glad that you can see us on YouTube. Brendan Byrne is saying hello from the Valley of the Two Glens. Good evening to you. What, Brendan Mohara. Porrick Byrne is saying good evening all from Mount Mellick in County Laois. Hello to you, Porrick. Brax likes the intro music. Brilliant stuff. Hello there, Marcia. Tom is saying hello to all and sundry, of course, as he always does, because he's such a gentleman. Marina Ella is joining from Chicago on a dark fall afternoon. Well, good afternoon to you, Marina. Hope it's not too dark. Sue Prenter is totally confused. Clicked on an old episode. Thought it strange when both you and Tom King remarked on the stretch to the evenings. No, definitely quite the opposite, Sue. Good evening to you. Sheila Gunn. Hello there, Anthony on the Tua. Red Heart. Well, Red Heart back at you, Sheila. Teresa Collins. Gia Agus Bangia. Aguiv Golair Atua. I thought it's not Monday without you all. Good to be here. Well, it's very good to have you, of course. This doesn't happen without people. Desiree Riley is saying, yay. Hello, Desiree. And hopefully our dogs will say hello soon. Patricia Patsy O'Malley Boyd. Hello, Patricia. Good evening. Hello, Patsy. Mickey Ansbury is here. I'm here. You're there. Yay, yay. Brilliant. I know. I mean, do you know what I mean? Could you get any better? Johnny Wilson is in Dallas, Texas. The weather is cool, windy, and I'm missing Ireland even more today. Yeah, you call 19 Celsius cool. We're on 11 Celsius. Spare us a few degrees, will you? Johnny, winter in Texas is like summer in Ireland, you know. First thing I heard is this wizard is never late. Deborah Gilbert is fashionably late. Oh, I should start talking about me. Me too. Hello from Connecticut. Hello, Deborah. And so I'm a little depressed today. New Zealanders broke my heart, says Marcus. Yes, still broken hearted. Will be for a few days longer, I think. Who else have we got? John Inman. I'm always late, but luck is always on time. Hello, John Inman here in Eureka, California on a soft day. Well, a soft day is better than a hard day. John, you're very welcome. Caitlin Moon is saying greetings from Dublin. Good evening to you, Caitlin. Hope you are keeping well. Mark Gordon is in Iowa. Good afternoon to you, Mark. Thanks for joining us. Lily Shambles is saying it's a nippy 7 where she is tonight. 7. Ooh, that is cold. Sandra Boothroyd. Good evening to you, Sandra. Me and Amadeus are happy to be tuning in as we clean the house, says Desiree. Is Amadeus licking everything? Licking the surfaces. Oh, never mind. Margaret Hughes says it's 8 in Birmingham tonight. Good evening to you, Margaret. A little bit chilly there, all right. Tom King, there he is. Hello there, Anthony on the Mighty Two. I'm very much enjoying this particular series of weapons. And now the battle strategies. Enjoy all. Have your spears at the ready. Yeah, indeed. Virginia Holland is saying, hola from Texas. We have a cluster of viewers in Texas. Good afternoon to you, Virginia. And I believe it's cool there at 66 Fahrenheit. Our 37 phase attack was brilliant. I actually died and my soul left my body for 4 minutes. Oh, I kept tensing up and tensing up. It was as if I was on the pitch. Wouldn't want me on the pitch. I'd only get in the way. Who else? DMGH is in Kentucky, where it's nippy there too. Winter is coming. And winter is coming. And you know what winter coming means? It means it's that time of the year. Yes. More in a moment. Full Irish Gary is in the house. Good evening. Great and good too. Another fine day on the side. It absolutely was a fine day here. 322 Messenger. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Good evening. 322 Messenger on YouTube. Sandra Boothroyd saying a very cheerful hello with only one L. That's okay. Yeah. So, without further ado, let's get on with things. But anyway, there is a copy of the Mythical Ireland calendar. It's not printed. I know you're looking, you're going, but Anthony, it is printed. You have one in your hand. I know, but this is from the printer. It was I suppose you could call it a dummy print, a proof print, printed on a digital press rather than a lithographic press. So the final version will have a gloss cover. I know that's shiny, but it'll have a laminated cover. So that's what it's going to look like. The same size as last year's calendar when you fold it out. Come here, let me just show you that. take my calendar off the wall. So try not to fall, Anthony. So that's the current calendar, 2023, and that's 2024. So you can see that when you open it out, it's the same size, but it folds to A4, which means that it's much easier for transport, and it won't get as battered around as the A3 versions do. Now, while I am talking about it, Monica Regley is still in Tuscany. Well, it's well for some, isn't it? Very nice. Hope the weather is suiting you, Monica. And it was lovely to meet you here in Ireland and your group. So I'm sharing the link now where you can pre-order your calendar. It's being printed right now. Should have them I'm hoping to have them before the weekend. If not, I should have them by Monday next week. So it's a huge amount of pre-orders to be put into envelopes and labeled and all that. Maureen Joyce is in Lexington, Kentucky, where it's chilly and overcast. Good afternoon to you, Maureen. Thanks for joining us. So let's have a very quick flick. That's February. That's a triple conjunction over Newgrange. That's Venus and the crescent moon and Jupiter. And that's March. That's the Hag's Chair at Carntee Loch Crew, Slieve Nacalia. April is the Northern Lights over Sheed and Broga, also known as Newgrange. May is the Stone of Divisions, Island of Mirren at Ishnock. June is Cairn F at Carrow Keel, overlooking that steep mountainside on the Brickleave Mountains. Very dramatic image, I hope you'll agree. July, I did show these images, but you didn't see the printed version. July is the Gaelic warrior or the Gaelic chieftain statue near Boyle in County Roscommon. August is the Dogda's Mound B near Newgrange in the mist. That's a drone shot. September is the full moon setting into Sheed and Broga, Newgrange. Got a huge reaction to that picture when it was shared. It was shared a few times and it got a huge reaction every time. October, we just had our viewers in the States had an annular eclipse on the 14th, 2 days ago on Saturday. Well, this is a partial solar eclipse captured here in the Boyne Valley last year. November is the Millmount and an early morning winter shot. You can see the frost on the mound. This is the mound that's said to be the burial place of Amergin and also the wife of the Gubon. And December's photograph is a top-down view of Sheed and Broga in the winter. So somebody was asking, yes, was Carrow Keel vandalized? It was, and I didn't share it because, you know what, I've gotten fed up sharing and talking about vandalism to the stage that I think that I don't know if they're getting a kick out of it. You know, that when you publicize it, are you helping or are you hindering? Not hindering, but are you encouraging? I don't know. But yes, Ken Williams has photographs of some graffiti that was scratched into some of the stones in one of the cairns at Carrow Keel. Barb Jordan says, hi everyone. Hello, Barb. Good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us. They all look beautiful. Yes, there's a bonus photograph. So you didn't know that, but because the inner cover was going to be blank, there's a bonus photograph. Yay! Which is of Douth, the great sycamore tree at Douth, and some of the curbstones under the stars. The Big Dipper is there, the plough. So yeah, get your calendar, €15 plus postage and packaging. I'll send them basically anywhere. Anywhere that On Post in Ireland will send, which is pretty much anywhere in the world. Yep, I've shared the link, so get yours now. That is only a preview, as it were. So I should have lots and lots and lots of them here, hopefully within the week, hopefully before the weekend. Marcia Downs, thank you. Ordered a calendar last week. Can't wait to see it up close. The pictures are truly amazing. Well, thank you indeed, Marcia, for that. I'm glad you enjoy the photography. Rexana Bowman is in Missouri. Glad to catch you for a little while. Well, we're very glad that you're able to catch us. and good evening to you. Samantha Healy is in the house, in the library. Hello, Samantha. Welcome, welcome. Make yourself comfortable, and hopefully you're in good form. Just making sure I haven't missed anybody. I want to order 2. Yeah, so what you do is when you're ordering, just order them separately, and in one, put the address where it's to be posted as your own, and in the other. Several people have done that. If you have any trouble, just reach out to me by. I'm not sure if you have my number, but even on Facebook message, and I'll give you a hand. Anyway, let's get on with. I'm feeling I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah. The patrons will know, of course. Mythical Ireland patrons are treated to some exclusive bits and pieces, news and photographs and podcasts and videos and articles and blog posts and all that sort of stuff. But they know that on Sunday, I completed the Return to Segish companion volume. It is finished. Tá sé craoch at 132,000 words. It is done. The evidence of that is here for all to see in the form of the raw typescript, which consists of that fits in 2 halves. That's one half, and that's the second half. It consists of 272 pages of typescript, and there's an average of 470 or 480 words on a page, bringing the grand total to 132,000, which is the largest book that I've ever written. So watch out for more information about that going forward, because right now I'm not sure how it's going to get published, and there's the process, the somewhat arduous and possibly lengthy process of getting it proofread and edited, which is going to take a while. In the meantime, if you want to read it, I'm sharing it 2 pages at a time for Mythical Ireland patrons. You'll see that scrolling along the bottom of the screen. That's where to go. Patreon.com/Mythical Ireland. Sign up as a Bronze Age patron. That's $10 a month. And for the price of a couple of good cups of coffee, you can have exclusive access, early access to the draft of that book. And I'm already getting great feedback. I think I'm in the 40s now, and lots of very nice feedback to it. So anyway, shall we proceed? Michael Trott has joined us. Nice to see a letter in our local paper from a gent in Drogheda congratulating the New Zealand rugby victory over the Irish Sunday morning our time. Mixed feelings here in New Zealand. Disappointment with our election result too. The calendar buying may help. Interesting to see your interview with Blind Boy Blogger. We'll check that out. Yeah, unfortunately he hasn't published either of those interviews on his podcast yet. They were recorded, but not published for the public yet. So if you weren't there, you kind of missed it, as it were. And yeah, we were talking about the rugby and hard luck to Ireland. But you know what? It was a real contest, and it was heart-stopping stuff. And look, it could have gone either way, and it went to the All Blacks. So hats off to them, fair play to them, and hope they win it now. You're turning into quite the wordsmith, Anthony, says Rex. Yeah. Well, that'll be completed book number 10. I'm also working, don't forget, on the Fornox monograph, although I did stop that to get this one finished. And I have a 70,000 words of an astronomy book written that I have to get back to, that I wrote in 2020. And I abandoned it because I felt that I had gone off on a tangent on it. I need to get back to that and decide where I need to go with it. Yeah, and lots of other stuff. I mean, the output is quite high. Indeed, a close game. New Zealand lifted their performance. They definitely did. I mean, getting under the ball on that stopped try, as it were, I think that was the turning point. Anyway, let me get on with it, because it's 37 minutes past 8. I was 17 minutes late. Was it 17? I think it was something like that, wasn't it? So I do apologize for my tardiness. And if you're all ready, we'll get on with it. This section of the chapter is called Strategy, Tactics, and Modes of Fighting. Hopefully, we will continue to enjoy our exploration of warfare, battle in medieval Ireland. Subordination of ranks. Though the discipline of the Irish in time of war and on the field of battle was very inferior to that of the Anglo-Normans, we are not to conclude that they were ignorant or careless of the science and art of war. On the contrary, military science was studied with much care, as the following examination of their strategic and tactical arrangements will show. The whole army was divided into caha, or battalions, C-A-T-H-A, and of course the Irish word for a battle is ca, so I presume it's the sort of same thing, or battalions, each ca consisting of 3,000 men. And these again were parcelled into smaller companies. Over each battalion was a ca vila, or knight of a battalion. And of course, M-H-I-L-I-D-H, and that is related to the Milesians, because Mil España means soldier of Spain. So the soldier, it says here knight, a knight of the battalion, or a soldier of the battalion. Each band of 100 was headed by a captain called Kenfana, and there were leaders of 50 and leaders of 9. Any body of soldiers was called Boyan, Old Irish B-U-D-E-N. An army on march was Slua, S-L-U-A-G-H, which is a host. Hence the word Slua, a military expedition, a hosting. S-L-U-A-G-H-A-D-H. Encampment. During marches, the leaders were very particular about their encampments. Even when the halt was only for a night or two, careful arrangements were made as to tents, sitting places, sleeping accommodation, bathing, cooking, etc. And everything was done to make the encampment comfortable and enjoyable. In all cases, the camp was fortified, so far as the time permitted. And of course, sentinels, in Irish, jarky, or jerky, D-E-R-C-A-I-D, a sentinel, literally a watchman, from jerk to see. And we know the word jerk from Dagda. I'm after writing that wrong. Sorry, I'm making margin notes here. Apologies. I'm getting distracted already. We're only on the first page and I'm doing this. So, Jerk Dirk. The red-eyed is how that's translated. Sorry for my tripping of myself up. That is the Dagda. Jerg Dirk was one of his epithets, one of his nicknames. Where the sojourn was likely to be pretty long, more elaborate arrangements were made. In the Battle of Moylena, the Long Fort, or encampment of Owen More, King of Leinster, the opponent of Conn the Hundred Fighter, is described. And this description may be taken as a type of all where the army sat down for any length of time. A well-ordered, well-extending encampment, a resting place of many streets in the centre of Moylena. The Pupall, P-U-P-A-L-L, or pavilion of the king, was pitched on a smooth hill. Men were dispatched into the surrounding woods to bring trunks and poles and branches, while others went to the adjacent marsh, from which they brought bundles of sedge grass. With the wattles and branches, they constructed huts and tents with sleeping places and beds, with posts and racks on which to hang up their helmets and arms. All were arranged in an orderly fashion in streets with roads and paths in every direction. And they made several enclosures for markets where provisions and other commodities could be bought and sold. They made cooking places and large halls for feasting, music, and amusements. Very important that we're amused when we're at war. After which they surrounded the whole encampment with 3 defensive circumvallations, having trenches and strong palisades. Sounds like a trivalent ring fort. And I'm not sure if I said hello to Lexi Erickson. Lexi Erickson is saying hello to Joe Butler. John, Lexi, did we say hello earlier? I'm not sure if we did. Anyway, if I didn't, hello and welcome to the stream. Very good to see you as always. Pleasure to welcome you into the library. The commanders in all cases took good care to bring their poets, storytellers, musicians, jugglers, jesters, and so forth, so that, whether the encampment was for a long or short halt, they might amuse and enjoy themselves as if they were at home. And this section is called Sentinels and Watchmen. In the early stages of society, when wars were frequent, lookout points were very important. Sometimes they were on the seashore. In the ancient tales, Ben Ether or Howth near Dublin, a rocky, projecting headland 600 feet over the sea, is celebrated as the great lookout point in the Middle Eastern coast. And the Fena of Erin constantly kept a sentinel there to sweep the horizon for invaders. This plan was adopted with good reason. I'd like to see that in action in some of the weather. Yes, where the clouds and the fog means that you can't see more than 20 feet in front of you. For in early days, British marauding parties often landed there, of which several instances are recorded in the old tales and other documents. We know that Howth was, until lately, a usual port for vessels from Britain. Near every palace, there was a lookout point, or more than one, at which guards always kept watch. The main road, called Miluchra, leading from Tara to Owen, ran by the Fuse Mountains, and in a pass on the southern slope of Slieve Fuad, their highest summit, pardon me, feels like there's a hair in my mouth, sorry. Oh, the vagaries of live TV. Their highest summit, by which invaders from the south would have to pass, was Áth na Furra, the Ford of Watching, a name which is explained in the Táin. Because there is an Ultonian champion, Ultonian meaning the Ullad, belonging to the Ulstermen. There is an Ultonian champion constantly watching and guarding there in order that no warriors or strangers should come unperceived into Ulster. The very summit of the mountain was also used as a watch station. It was called Fincharn na Forara, the White Cairn of the Watching, where during the War of the Táin, a champion constantly kept watch to safeguard Ulster. Lexi, I was a bit late. Students, grrr. Ah, yes. Don't you just love students? Yes, indeed. Um, so, um, so this is fascinating. Something has just come into my head here. We're talking about the Fuse Mountains, Slieve Fuad, South Armagh, overlooking the Gap of the North, where the ancient routeway from Tara to Owen passed, and the modern route from runs fairly close by would be the Dublin to Belfast motorway. And there was a watch station where a champion constantly kept watch to safeguard Ulster. And during the Troubles, the British Army had watch stations up on those mountaintops. It's like history repeats itself, or it's actually more like myth foreshadows real events. You know, it's the most incredible thing that in the settling of the Manor of Tara, the principal attribute of Ulster, the north of Ireland, was battle, and that since for hundreds of years, but especially since Elizabethan times, and since, of course, the plantation in the 17th century, Ulster has been the point of great conflict between our two nations, as in Ireland and Britain. But I think that's, fascinating that the summit of Slieve Fuad was used as a watch station in ancient times, so that the Ulstermen would not be taken by surprise by some military foray into into the Ulster territory. And here we are in very recent times, certainly in my lifetime, thankfully, we're at peace now, and all those watchtowers are gone. But I certainly remember the British Army watchtowers as we used to cross the border into Northern Ireland as a kid. I remember looking up at them and being terrified that they were watching us and that they were maybe going to open fire on us. Of course, they wouldn't have any reason to open fire on us, but let's just say that didn't stop them at certain times during the conflict. But let's not go there. Let's not get political. History doesn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme, says Marcus. Miriam Nichira. Oh no, I thought that was 1 p.m. my time. At least I'm catching now. Yeah, not to worry. And we're not long in, Miriam, simply because I started late. We didn't start until 17 minutes past the hour, and I've only been reading for about 10 minutes. So you haven't missed a whole lot. But welcome. The practice of signalling at night by beacon fires in time of war, invasion, or disturbance of any kind was general. And in the story of Brian da Durga, which we read, that Durga's hostel, a legendary origin is assigned for it. Sorry, I'm just making a little drawing in the margin. Pictorial marginalia. When the army of marauders were approaching the hostel of Dar Durga, in which Connery, the King of Ireland, was staying with his retinue, the sons of Dund Dessa, who were unwilling partners in the expedition, went aside and made a Tendal, Tendal, or beacon fire, to warn the king of the intended attack on the hostel. Quote, so that is the first warning beacon that has been made in Erin, says the story. And from it, every warning beacon is kindled to this day. Wow. And we were talking, weren't we, a while back about Cairn S at Loughcrew, at Slieve pointing towards Keshcaran in County Sligo, a distance of almost 60 miles or 100 kilometres. And we were wondering, Tom King and I, about whether that's how they would have been visible to each other, is that they might have lit signal fires at night. It's going to look up that. Yes. So I will paste this link in as a comment for anybody who wants to have a look at it. The long distance alignment of Cairn S. It's 94 kilometres from Cairn S in Slieve na Caillia, Loughcrew, to the cairn on top of Keshcaran Mountain. Immediately, voice crack. Sorry about that. I shall deepen my voice immediately beside the palace. I'm going to read. Will I read the next paragraph or two in the style of Christopher Lee? Will I do that? Give me one moment while I take a sip of water, and then we'll do a Christopher Lee-esque reading. Brendan Byrne makes a good point. If they have time to make roads and encampments and build protective ditches, they're in no hurry to go to war. Well, what does Andy Dufresne say? Get busy living or get busy dying. A new power is rising. I'll have to get a new microphone. I want to get an RE20 microphone, which is the mother of all microphones. The BBC have used them for generations, and they capture the full depth of your voice, especially if you have a male voice. You know, they capture the bass end and project that much better than a lot of standard microphones. He had a hair in his mouth and now a frog in his throat. Yes, and wait, watch this while I pull a rabbit from a hat. No. Okay. Smoke rises from the dark mountain. The hour grows late, and Gandalf the Grey rides to Isengard, seeking my counsel. Is it not so, friend? Immediately beside the palace, or the temporary residence of every king or great chief, a sentinel or watchman, jerky, kept watch and ward day and night. In time of battle or campaign, warriors slept at night with a single weapon by their side for use in any sudden alarm, their principal arms hanging on the racks in their proper place. Heralds is the next section. In the course of warfare, heralds or envoys were often employed, as among all other nations. A herald was denoted by the words Techtara or Achlach, that's Techtaire and Eachlach, Techtara and Achlach. Heralds, when on their mission, were regarded as sacred and inviolable, and were treated with the utmost respect, even by the bitterest enemies, exactly as Homer describes the heralds of the Greeks. Barbara Murphy is sneaking in late and happy to be here. And suddenly there's no comments, which seems to suggest to me that people are a bit creeped out by the whole Christopher Lee thing. So I'm going to stop that. When it was proposed to send Fergus MacRoy as an envoy from Queen Maeve to the hostile Ulster army, he naturally shrank from the mission, for he was himself one of the Ulstermen who had entered Maeve's service, and was one of the chief authors of all the ravages the Connacht forces had committed in Ulster. But Maeve told him not to fear, for, said she, it is not ever a custom of the Ulstermen to offer reproach to envoys. For if a man should kill the father or brother of every one of them, he need not fear them, going to meet them as a herald. At a much later time, Comasca, the son of King Ead mac Einmirach, was slain AD 598 by Brandulf, King of Leinster, who sent envoys north to announce the news to the father. Do Gollum. Oh my God, no. Gollum. My precious. What? Taters, precious. The end was. I probably couldn't do it for long. I reckon I'd be hoarse fairly quick. I don't know how Andy Serkis does that voice for so long. You know? Gonna get the dog barking, says Deborah Gilbert. Or Snoop Dogg. I can't do Snoop Dogg. What I do, I can try and do Morgan Freeman. Because to tell you the truth, I don't give a shit. Go ahead, Sonny. Stamp your form. We have killed thy son and slain his people. Aid answers, we had heard these tidings already. Yet ye, being envoys, shall depart unhurt. But nevertheless, we will go after you to avenge by open war in Leinster the death of the prince. Heralds had a special dress by which they were at once recognised, and they commonly carried in one hand a white wand or hand staff, and in the other a sword, symbolical of the alternative to be accepted, peace or war. A little bit like the white flag, you know? Interesting. Banners, flags, and standards. From the earliest period of their history, the Irish used banners or standards, which were borne before the army when going into battle or on ordinary marches. A custom, as de Jubainville points out, common to the Celts and Romans, but unknown to the Homeric Greeks. In Ireland, the office of standard bearer of each king or chief was hereditary, like all other important functions. It was quite a sort of a complex setup, wasn't it? Yeah. A banner is denoted by the word Mirga or Myrga, M-E for the I-R-G-E. In the accounts of many of the Irish battles, there are descriptions of the standards borne by each chief or clan. The commander-in-chief had his own banner, and so had each captain under his command. And each banner usually bore some device or figure commonly called suchentus or saulach, so that several captains and companies could be distinguished from a distance. Every captain, says Keating, writing from old authorities, bore upon his standard his peculiar device or ensign, so that each distinct body of men could be easily distinguished from all others by those shanachis whose duty it was to attend on the nobles when about to contend in battle, and that these shanachis might thus have a full view of the achievements of the combatants, so as to be able to give a true account of their particular deeds of valour. The attendant shanachis of those old times answered in some sort to the war correspondence of our own day. In the Battle of Moyrath, AD 637, banners of various patterns and devices are mentioned. That of Congal, Prince of Ulster, the leader of the rebel host, was a yellow lion on green satin. which, we are told, was the proper royal standard of Ulster and had been since the time of the Red Branch Knights, 6 centuries before, and which was now displayed by the rebel prince. In this battle, the banner of the King of Aileach, one of the Aineal, was black and red. Of Sweeney, King of Dalriada, yellow satin. Of the King of the Ards, white satin. Many other banners and devices are described in other authorities. The Suachanas, let me just look at that word again. Suachantas, it's T-A-S. Ah, okay. Looks like an I-A-S here. The Suachantas of O'Doherty was a sword and a golden cross, with a lion and blood-red eagle on white satin. Of O'Sullivan, a spear with an adder entwined on it. Was he some sort of healer? Of O'Loughlin of Burren in Clare, are you listening, and Scott Doherty? An oak with a champion defending it, together with a blue anchor and a golden cable. Wow, didn't think they had cable TV back then. The mountain ash or rowan tree in full bloom, the yew tree, a piper with his bagpipes, hounds, deer, etc., were also adopted as banner devices by various other kings and chiefs. Yeah, I know. That's a good question, Marcus. And we mentioned lions recently, and I'm saying, but sure, we didn't have lions in Ireland. So how did they know about them? Somebody must have seen them abroad, you know? IRTE. How numerous these banners were in an army prepared for battle may be judged from the words of Brandulf, King of Leinster, before the Battle of Dunbollag, when, looking down from a height on the encampment of his adversary, the King of Ireland, he said it seemed like a great stationary bird flock of mixed colours. Such was the number of banners floating on tall poles over the booths. And now we move on to the Cathach or battler. In Christian times, it was usual for the ruler of a clan, tribe, or sub-kingdom to have a relic commonly consecrated by the patron saint of the district, which the chief brought to battle with him, in the hope that it would ensure victory, somewhat as the Jews used the Ark of the Covenant. Such a relic was called a Cathach, i.e. a prelator or battler. The usual formula for the use of the Cathach was to cause it to be carried jeshel or sunwise, commonly by an ecclesiastic, 3 times round the army before the battle began. Wow. Why is a cleric engaging in what are ostensibly pagan practices? Walking thrice sunwise around the army for luck. Wow. When the King of Ulster invaded Munster, Saint Finchua of Brigaun marched at the head of the King of Munster's forces against him from Brewery, with the Ken Cathach, i.e. his crozier, in his hand. And before the battle began, he walked thrice jeshel with it round the Munster host. In the ensuing battle, the Ulster forces were routed. That's from Stokes' Lives of the Saints. And that's fascinating. He's basically saying that the fact that the saint marched around his army, as it were, the King of Munster's army, 3 times sunwise with his crozier in his hand, gave them good luck. The most celebrated of these battle relics was the Cathach or battle book of the O'Donnells of Tyrconnell. Which may now be seen in the National Museum in Dublin. The Cathach of the O'Kellys of Hymany was the crozier of their patron, Saint Grellan. This was for ages kept by the family of O'Cronally, and it was in existence in 1836, but it is now not to be found. So it must have disappeared or been robbed or something else. Buried. St. Cailín, Cailín, with no father, St. Cailín of Fenna, blessed a Cathach for his tribe, the Conmachne, namely a cross made of a hazel rod that had been cut with one blow, the top of the upright to pierce the horizontal bar in the middle. It appears from the words of the old record that no one relic was kept permanently here, as in other cases, but that on each occasion, when going to a battle, a new cross was to be made in the manner pointed out above. The condition of striking off the branch or rod with a single blow was evidently a perpetuation of the corresponding pagan formula described in chapter IX, section 1, infra, now turned to Christian uses. So there you go. As I said, paganism being taken by Christianity. They had copies of the images of lions and other beasts in books called bestiaries. Every monastery would have one. Wow, didn't know that. You learn something new every day. Really? Bestiary. Wow, fascinating. What a change from modern warfare that uses stealth and hides from the enemy. The wave flags and say, "Here I am, come and get me." Yeah. And Marcus is mentioning the holy hand grenade. He thinks this is going to descend into a Monty Python skit. I'm not dead. He will be in a minute. I'm feeling better. Yes. The permanent kahak, or battle relic, of each tribe was placed in the keeping of some particular family. This was considered a great honour, and the family usually had attractive land free of rent, as well as other prerequisites, as payment for the faithful discharge of their duty as custodians. The MacRovertys, or MacRavertys, were the official keepers of the Cahach of the O'Donnells, and continued in the office until the 17th century. And to this day, the land they held in virtue of their office is called Ballymacroarty. Wow. And this section of the chapter is called Chivalry. How are we doing for time? We're doing grand. In Ireland in ancient times, people as a general rule declined to take advantage of surprises or stratagems in war. They had a sort of chivalrous feeling in the matter and did not seek to conceal and sometimes even gave open notice of intended attacks. There you go, Brendan. Exactly what you were just saying. Or came to an agreement with their adversaries as to the time and place to fight the matter out. In later ages, and at the present day, such plain, unsophisticated dealing would be looked upon as very bad generalship. Conchobar, having arrived at Dundalk on his march south to overrun the southern provinces, is met by an envoy to propose terms, but he rejects the terms and prepares to resume march. Then the envoy asks him where he proposes to encamp the first night. In Rossnaree, above the clear bright Boyne, said Conchobar. For Conchobar, the story goes on to say, never concealed from his enemy the place in which he was to take station or camp, that they may not say it was fear or dread that caused him not to announce it. The result was, when he arrived at Rossnaree, he found the Leinstermen fully prepared for him. Before the first battle of Moitura, the Danans, who were the invaders, demanded battle each day, with equal numbers on both sides, to which the Firvolg king had to agree, though greatly against his will, for he had a much larger army. Before the Battle of Moylena, end of 2nd century AD, Owen Moore, being closely pressed by his great opponent, Conn the Hundred Fighter, sent to ask him for a truce of 3 days to consider his position, which Conn at once granted. The same spirit is found much later on. In the year excuse me, 1002, when Brian Boru marched with an army to Tara and demanded from King Malachy submission or battle, Malachy asked for a delay of a month to muster his forces for battle. That would be Maelshacnal II, I believe, if that's 1002, which Brian granted and remained in his camp till the month was expired. And Malachy employed the interval with Brian's full knowledge in preparing for the struggle. I'm just saying, sorry, just in case that's not clear, Malachy is the version of the name Maelshacnal or Maelshacnal, which is how it's rendered in the manuscripts. Malachy, I think, is like the it's not quite an anglicization, is it? What does Malachy mean? I know this, but it's in the filing cabinet somewhere. And Malachy employed the interval with Brian's full knowledge in preparing for the struggle, but failing to raise sufficient forces, he proceeded to Brian's camp with merely a small guard of honour and submitted without imposing any conditions, trusting to his opponent's honour for proper treatment, but telling him plainly that if he had been strong enough, he would fight. And his confidence was not misplaced, for Brian, while receiving his submission, treated him with the utmost respectfulness and honour. A similar chivalrous sense of fair play is exemplified in individuals. An episode in the story of the Táin describes how Cuchulainn and Ferdiad, two old friends and affectionate comrades, were forced by circumstances to fight to the death in single combat, and the fight was continued for several days. Each evening, when word was given for the combat to cease, they laid aside their weapons, and each threw his arms round the neck of the other and thrice kissed his cheek. Cuchulainn on this occasion had better medical appliances than Ferdiad, but Ferdiad, we would normally say, we wouldn't put the D on the end of it, but Ferdiad had a more varied supply of food and drink. And each evening Cuchulainn sent his best doctor with half of his balms and healing herbs to soothe Ferdiad's wounds, while Ferdiad on his part sent half of all his choice food and drink to his friend. How wonderful. At last Ferdiad is slain, and Cuchulainn falls on his body in a paroxysm of uncontrollable grief, from which he is with difficulty roused up by his attendant Leg. Leg is also his charioteer. This may be fiction, but all the same it embodies the high chivalric ideals of war and battle prevalent in the time of the original writer. Now, stratagem, ambush. Yeah, that's the word, Caitlin. Bastardization. Yes. Bastardization of Maelchiachnal to Malachy. Diminutive name. Is Malachy... Am I mistaken? Is Malachy Latin? Ah, yes. It means servant of God. Or messenger of God. Of course, that's the biblical Malachy with Hebrew origins. Malachy is a given name of Irish origin. That's Wikipedia. Can we trust Wikipedia? Saint Malachy, Archbishop of Armagh, 1095 to 1148. Maelchiachnal Macmaillia Runyon, 9th century King of Ireland, also known as Malachy I. Maelchiachnal MacDonald, King of Ireland in the late 10th and early 11th centuries, also known as Malachy II, which is the one we're talking about. Barbara Murphy has it right. Rabbit hole alert. Of course, a lot of these websites are baby name websites. You can't really trust those, you know. Here, according to Quora, Malachy is derived from the Irish name Maelmhichil, which means devotee of Saint Michael. Caitlin Moon adds to the discussion, chivalry, as we know it, is a concept that started in the 12th century in French Christian knighthood literature and culture. So it really isn't applicable to early Irish culture or saga. I had a lengthy discussion with my supervisor about this recently. So we shouldn't call it chivalry anyway, really. You know, chivalry is a French word, isn't it? But this idea of honor, you know, honor and openness and honesty and all of the rest. But not unfrequently, a general rose up with unusual military genius and with less scrupulous notions of chivalry, who did not hesitate to employ ambush, Irish etharnaid, E-T-A or N-A-I-D, etharnaid, in other stratagems. In AD 598, Aed mac Einmurach, King of Ireland, marched southwards from his palace of Aileach with a great army to avenge the death of his son and to exact the Boruva tribute from Leinster. But he was met at Dunvolug by Brandulf, the astute and powerful King of Leinster, with a much smaller army. Now, Brandulf, seeing no hope of success in open battle, had recourse to stratagem. He collected 3,600 oxen carrying great hampers, in each of which was concealed an armed man covered over with provisions, and he set out by night with these and with a herd of 150 untamed horses towards the monarch's encampment. Wow, 3,600 oxen, or what are oxen? They're like bullocks, aren't they? It sounds a little bit like the wooden horse, as in the Trojan horse, in that these are supposed to be food offerings, but there are soldiers concealed in the food parcels, as it were, if I'm reading it right, that is. When they approached the camp, the advance guard, hearing the trampling and the din, started to arms and questioned the party. Apologies. I need to... sounds like Saskia needs to go out. They replied that they were a friendly contingent bringing a stock of provisions for the King of Ireland, and when the guard, on examining the sacks, saw the provisions, they let them pass. Yes, sounding more and more like a version of the Trojan horse. The party passed on until they entered the royal enclosure, and tying bags filled with pebbles to the tails of the wild horses, they let them loose among the tents, which caused terrible confusion. In the midst of the uproar, the men in the sacks, cutting themselves loose at a signal and forming in ranks, attacked the camp. The royal forces were completely surprised, and after a dreadful fight in the darkness, they were routed, and the king, fleeing from the field, was overtaken and slain. 2,000 years before the time of Brandulf, the Egyptian general Tahutia, as we read in Flinders Petrie's translation of the ancient papyrus record, took Joppa by smuggling into the city armed men hidden in great sacks under horse provender. Wow. You may have a suggestion there, Brendan. Yeah, the Book of Rabbit Holes. Archaeostomy Database, Ty, has joined us. Yeah, I saw some pictures of that eclipse. That looked fabulous. The Ring of Fire looked really wonderful. When Louis Macon invaded Ireland, AD 250, he won the Battle of Mucriva and the throne of Ireland by the stratagem of concealing a large party of his men in pits and recesses covered over with strong hurdles and bushes, who remained quietly till the others had passed and then sprang up and attacked them in the rear. Medical attendance in battle. Arthurian romance has its roots in France, I'm afraid. Early Irish warriors definitely had codes of behaviour and conduct, like the Giesa or taboos that governed behaviour of kings, but it was not chivalry. That's a very specific aristocratic social code. Fascinating stuff. Uh, Morrigan or Morion ni Barshak, Trojan horse, was presented as an offering to Poseidon, and the Trojans stole it to sabotage the Greek voyage home. A number of physicians or surgeons always accompanied an army going to battle to attend to the wounded, who were brought to them at the rear during the fight. This was quite an established institution from the most remote times, a fact of which there can be no doubt, notwithstanding the number of fables and exaggerations that are mixed up with the accounts of their curses. We are now familiar with the humble practice in war of giving medical aid after the battle to the wounded, without distinction of friend or enemy. And it is interesting to observe that the same idea was equally familiar to the writers of Toinbo Coelna. When Cairn, a famous Ulster warrior, returned from a fight against the Connacht forces, all covered with wounds, a request was sent to the Connacht camp, the enemies, for physicians for him, as it happened that none of the Ulster physicians were at the moment available, and physicians were at once dispatched with the messenger. Military formation and marching. In going to battle, the Irish often rushed pell-mell in a crowd without any order. But they sometimes adopted a more scientific plan, advancing in regular formation, shoulder to shoulder, forming a solid front with shields and spears. When the Southern Army were about to engage the forces of Ulster, who had marched south to invade Munster, St. Finchua called out to the Munstermen, "When you have closed in together at one place, make ye a strong palisade of battle." Unquote. And in that fashion, led by Finchua, they advanced to the attack and routed the Ulstermen. In another battle, the Ulstermen, just as they were about to engage, quote, set themselves in battle array, and there was a forest of their weapons and a bulwark of their shields. Leven na Skehiv, literally a platform or floor of their shields around them. The word crow, which means a pen or fold, is often applied to a formation of this kind, and we mentioned that previously as in the crow of Lou, a tactic or a move in Fichil or Irish chess, which sounds a little bit like checkmate. In the story of the Borova, we read that when the men of the royal army saw their king in danger in the battle of Dunbolg, they formed a crow of spears and shields about him. The Lechon made a crow bova, a warlike fold, presumably bova, B-O-D-B-A, is the bow or the bav, that goddess associated with battle. The Lechon made a crow bova, a warlike fold, around Molling and his company to take them prisoners. On one occasion, Queen Maeve hid her face under a davich, i.e. an ox vat, of her guards' shields for protection against Cuchulain's terrible sling. There is at least one passage that mentions stepping in time while marching, where the men of one of Queen Maeve's 3 corps are spoken of as lifting and bringing down the feet exactly together. Inoin hecht das Dolbaitis a showing careful drill. Pardon my pronunciation of the Middle Irish in that instance. But this does not seem to have been general. Indeed, it is noticed as a specialty in this one corps. On the morning of the day of battle, each man usually put as much food in a wallet that hung by his side as was sufficient for the day. Tying in pairs. When a commander had reason to suspect the loyalty or courage of any of his men in a coming battle, he sometimes adopted a curious plan to prevent desertion or flight from the field. He fettered them securely in pairs, leg to leg, leaving them free in all other respects. Just before the Battle of Moirath, AD 637, Congal, the leader of the rebel army, consisting partly of Irishmen and partly of foreigners, sends a confidential scout to reconnoitre the king's army, quote, if they had locks or fetters between every 2 of their fighting soldiers, unquote. Then follows a statement in verse that the royal commanders had, quote, put a fetter between every 2 men, so that neither young nor old, even though pressed hard, should flee, unquote. Congal, on his part, on receiving the report of his scout, fettered those of his men in pairs who appeared to him deficient in courage. In some cases, an Irishman being coupled with a Briton or with an Albanach. Interesting stuff. Kind of reminds me of what's it called? That movie, Gladiator. How do we stop our men from running away? I know. Let's tie them together. Yes. Thanks, Anthony. My furniture just started levitating. Wingardium Leviosa. Yeah. You should stop, Anthony. You should try levitation as a hobby. It's quite uplifting. Yes, moving swiftly on. At the close of the battle, when the rebels were defeated and took to flight, nearly all those who were fettered, being unable to escape, were slaughtered. Not such a good idea after all. 4 centuries before Moirath, excuse me, AD 250, Louis Macon invaded Ireland with an army of Britons and other foreigners to wrest the throne from Art the Lonely, King of Ireland. Excuse me. Doesn't sound like sound battle strategy to send your army in a 3-legged race, says Brendan. Caitlin Moon says that joke was a real letdown. Yeah. Sorry. And so Louis Macon invaded Ireland AD 250 with an army of Britons and other foreigners to wrest the throne from Art the Lonely, King of Ireland, which he succeeded in doing at the Battle of Muckriva in Galway. On landing from Britain, he was joined by a considerable contingent of Irishmen. Just before the battle, fearing the Irish soldiers might not remain faithful to him inasmuch as they were about to fight against their lawful King Art, he had most of them tied, the leg of each man to the leg of a Briton, and each of those who were not so tied he placed between 2 Britons. In the second battle of Moytura, there is no direct mention of men being tied together, but a curious expression occurs in one part of the description which seems to indicate that some were fettered in pairs. Among those who fell in the battle, we are told that there were some leithuine, literally half men. Now, this is the very idiom used in Irish to denote one of a pair. Lechiul, literally half eye, meaning one eye of the pair. And similarly, leithuine is one man of a pair. The meaning of this expression is otherwise inexplicable, or rather, it has no meaning at all. I find one instance of this custom as practiced by the Welsh in a battle fought by them against the Irish during the time of the Irish invasions of Wales. It is mentioned in one of the ancient Welsh triads, quote, the tribe of Caswallon Lochir put the fetters of their horses on their feet by 2 and 2 in fighting with Sergi Widdil, the Irish commander, at Cerrig y Gwyddel, or Holyhead, in Mon, i.e. in Anglesey. Unquote. Shall we read on and do a little bit about horses? Seeing that the jokes aren't too good, we could, I suppose, read some. Cavalry did not form an important feature of the ancient Irish military system. Lexi is straight in there with a yes. You aren't getting horse. No, I'm a Shetland pony. I'm just a little horse. Yes, 2 horses, says Desiree. Pardon me. Before I do, I'm going to have another drink of water. Yeah, let's hear about the GG, says Lily. Chivalry. Not chivalry, Anthony. The other word that is associated, cavalry. Cavalry did not form an important feature of the ancient Irish military system. Of course, cavalry is derived from French, isn't it? Again, isn't this a cheval, is it? What's a horse in French? Cheval? It is cheval, isn't it? I'm doubting myself. Caitlin and maybe others will know. We do not find cavalry mentioned at all in the Battle of Clontarf, either as used by the Irish or the Danes. Well, we know there were Vikings, but they were probably Norse Vikings rather than Danish Vikings. Yeah, cheval. Yes, thank you, Caitlin. I knew you'd know. Coda says hello, by the way. But kings kept in their service small bodies of horse soldiers, commonly called marchlua, horse host. For example, in the Shamachus Mór, Brehon laws, it is stated that King Lera, at the time of St. Patrick, appointed his nephew, Nuada Jerug, chief of his marchlua, or cavalry. And when King Dermot was preparing for the Battle of Culdrevne, he collected horse, foot, and chariots. Thank you, Sotonar. See, I knew the information would be there. Chevaux. Coda knows French, apparently, says Brendan. Yeah, bonsoir. What's the French for dog? Mon. Bonsoir, mon. Uh, is it related to canine? No. Somebody put me out of my misery and tell me what the Irish or the Irish, what the French for dog is. Chien. Thank you, Miriam. The chief men too rode in battle, as at the Battle of Balamoon, where the leaders fought on horseback. After the invasion, cavalry came into general use. Each horseman had at least one footman to attend him, called a gilla or daltine, Irish Dailti for the N, a diminutive of dalta, armed only with a dart or javelin. Of course, gilla is literally a servant, isn't it? Yeah, few people saying Shia. Is that how have I got the pronunciation right? Bonsoir, mon chien. Mon chien? Chien? You don't say the N at the end of that, do you? Chien? Let's hear that. Mon chien. Mon chien. Chien. Bonsoir, mon chien. Bonsoir, mon chien. Lightly, says Miriam. So you do pronounce it, but lightly. Exactly. It kind of goes up your nose. A bit like fizzy Coke at a party when you're young. I'm talking about Coca-Cola before anybody starts. In later times, each horseman had 2 and sometimes 3 attendants. 2 kinds of foot soldiers are often mentioned in Irish records: the kern and gallowglasses. The kern were lightly armed soldiers, that's Kern. They wore headpieces and fought with a skean, a dagger or short sword, and with a javelin. We saw last week or the week before we were talking about skean, which is like the modern Irish name for a knife that you butter a piece of toast with. The Irish name is Cehern, Ceithern, which primarily means a body of men of any kind, though commonly restricted to a body of soldiers. And so that warrior called Cehern, who appears in the Táin, is spelt the same way. Is he so called because he's like a body of soldiers, like he fights as well as a body of soldiers? I wonder. It is a collective noun, like the English horse, foot, infantry, etc. The word for a single soldier of the body is Cehernach or Ceherna. The cairn are a very ancient institution, as we find them noticed in the accounts of the early battles. For instance, in that of the Battle of Moirath, fought AD 637, they are mentioned more than once, and they continued in use to late times, for they figure very much in the Irish wars of the Tudors. The gallowglasses, or gologlach, as they are called in Irish, appear only in later times after the Anglo-Norman invasion. They are not met in ancient Irish writings. They were heavy armed infantry, wearing a coat of mail and an iron helmet, with a long sword by the side, and carrying in the hand a broad, heavy, keen-edged axe. They are usually described as large-limbed, tall, and fierce-looking. It is almost certain that the gallowglasses and the mode of equipping them were imitated from the English. So Spencer says, and O'Donovan agrees with him, quote, for gallogla signifies an English servitor or yeoman, unquote, in which Spencer is quite correct. Irish, gall, an Englishman. Oglach, a youth or warrior. By the way, gall, an Englishman, Gall. Gall is a foreigner in general. Martina, quite late in that we're just finishing, but no problem. And you know the story. Look, we love to say hello, and there's no apologies. There's no need for apologies because, and I know you didn't apologize, but because everybody's welcome at whatever time they arrive. And the wonderful thing, thanks to the technology, is that we are available to pre-watch as soon as it's over. Like ski, almost like a knife or blade for skating on ice. Any correlation? Very good question. Wow. Question of the night. I'm sorry to everyone else who's asked questions. Just trying to find. I'm looking that up now. I'm going down that rabbit hole. Is the Irish word skiing related to ski as in don't know. The skiing verha with a razor. Yeah, so I don't know. Let me just check the Deneen folklore. Deneen, where are you, Deneen? You're in my hand, Mr. Deneen. On Tussle Deneen SJ. What am I looking for? Skiing. SCI Fada AN. Skiing. A knife, a dagger, an edge, an angry note in speech, or look in the eyes. And there are so many entries. But this is not the one to look for cognates in, for instance, Latin, etc. Origins of words. Nice one, Lily. Yes, Anthony, you were very welcome, even though you arrived late. Very true. Ski comes from the Old Norse ski. Okay. That answers that. Probably not related then. Like a ferret when a rabbit hole appears. Hence the name Donegal. Donegal, Fort of the Foreigners, also known as Tyrconnell. They have a pleasant accent to me, things. They have. Ask. All you have to do is ask. No. Donegal. All you have to do is talk to Daniel O'Donnell. But I have the accent wrong. I have the pitch of the voice right. Ice hockey also uses a puck, which is ball in Irish. Mind blown. Puck fada. A long puck. Doing them all. Yes, indeed, Michael. That's correct. 100% right. The Fort of the Foreigners. Yeah. Anyway, fascinating stuff. I think you'll agree. All this stuff about battle. I mean, they were totally open. I mean, your man going all the way down to Concovar saying, sure, we'll be at Rossnaree, so you can completely surround us and there'll be no surprise. There'll be no ta-da! Gretchen Sky, early in the reading, it sounded like you were saying Durga. I think you said it was the place the English waited for battle. Not sure, but wondering what that word was. Thanks. Let me just go back now. Where did we start tonight? Cock or Battler? Heralds. Sentinels and watchmen. Strategy and tactics. What did you say it was? Let me. I want to try and help Gretchen here with this. It sounded like you were saying Durga. Durga. Was that Durga's hostel? Oh, okay, hang on. Just in case. During marches, the leaders were very particular about their encampments. Even when the halt was only for a night or two, careful arrangements were made as to tents, sitting places, sleeping accommodation, bathing, cooking, etc. And everything was done to make the camp comfortable and enjoyable. In all cases, the camp was fortified so far as the time permitted. And of course, sentinels, jerky, Dercaid, a sentinel, literally a watchman, from jerk to see. DERC. Was that the one? No. Or was it Da Derga? Okay, here's the other one. The practice of signaling at night by beacon fires in time of war, invasion, or disturbance of any kind was general, and in the story of Bruin da Derga, a legendary origin is assigned for it. When the army of marauders were approaching the hostel of da Derga, in which Connery, King of Ireland, was staying with his retinue, the sons of Dundesa, who were unwilling partners in the expedition, went aside and made a tendal or beacon fire to warn the king of the intended attack on the hostel. Is that the one you're talking about, Gretchen? Rated Irish is Jarug. Yes. Puck Fodder says Gerard is long strike. Yes, indeed. Half right, Anthony, says Michael. About what? You see, I hate this. I'm not giving out about you. I hate the way that the comment only appears a couple of minutes after I say something, and it's not always clear what the comment is about. Is hostel the modern term, or is that an Irish term? Well, the word for a hostel is bruin, Bruiden. There's probably various ways of spelling it. Bruiden in Middle Irish. A hostel, a large banqueting hall, excuse me, a house or a mansion, also of a similar hall in the other world. A place of lodging. So Bruin is the Irish word, Barbara. Bruiden. I'll type that in as a comment actually. Bruiden equals hostel. Large. Oh. Great to see all the comments and questions, but I love that feedback. It's great. Isn't the hurley ball called a puck? No, it's called a schlither. Sliotar, I believe is how it's spelled. Sliotar, schlither. The title in Irish, yeah, the full title, of course, is Tugal Brunja da Derga, the destruction of da Derga's hostel. Brunja, Bruidne, is the genitive of Brian. You're very welcome, Barbara. Very glad to help. Always a pleasure to help another Murphy, of course. If you need help with the calendars, I'm sure the dogs can lick the envelopes. Very good plan, Lily. Well, we have to feed them sausages. They had sausages this evening. They were very excited about the sausages. It was concerning the Donegal accent from me. Okay, Michael. Yeah. Daniel O'Donnell. Yeah. I'm normally good at accents, but sometimes I just, fail, basically, yes, great fun. Murphy's Law. If anything can go right, it will go right. Yeah. Yeah, Da Durga. So, yes, sorry, Gretchen. So, Caitlin has answered your question there, the full title. Brian, Tugal, Brian, Tugal Brunja Da Durga. Yeah, that one. That's the one. You just have to accentuate the positive. Yeah. I've been thinking of getting a new house. I've actually been thinking of investing in an old lighthouse, but nothing too flashy. Anyway, I'm finished reading. So he's going to bugger off. Of course, I'm joking. Yes. So all good. Yeah, just another reminder. Elaine says, Anthony, thanks for another great episode. And you go down as many rabbit holes as you want. Love it. Yes, indeed. The Book of Rabbit Holes. Brendan, you have, I don't know, you have me thinking. By the way, 5 ants rented an apartment along with another 5 ants. They're now tenants. Better yet is O'Toole's corollary to Murphy's Law. Murphy was an optimist. I love it. I would say that the Murphys are all optimists. Thanks for another lovely night. You're very welcome to Zero. And of course, it's afternoon for you, isn't it? It's nighttime for us. By the way, it was getting dark at 7 o'clock tonight. Winter is coming. Did you spot the brand new winter jumper? Yeah, I went out and bought some bits and pieces today. A couple of 3 winter jumpers actually. Yeah, it's been so much fun, says Rex. Thanks for the info and the accents. You're very welcome. Smoke rises from the dark mountain. In the Matrix films, Neo has to follow a white rabbit to discover the Matrix. White rabbit object. Am I right? Dennis Nedry and the white rabbit object. What am I talking about? I think I'm right. I hope I'm right. Great night, Anthony. Take care. Keep safe. Mythical Ireland family. Brilliant stuff, Wayne. Thank you indeed. And of course, Wayne is a Bronze Age patron and he's thoroughly enjoying the new book as I share it 2 pages by 2 pages. Another great read. Thank you. You're very welcome. Or Burgess22. Dennis Nedry and the white rabbit object. Anybody? I'm going to Google that. Don't you Google it, by the way. Whatever it did everything. Yeah. How many lines of code? And so picture, what's his name? Samuel L. Jackson with a cigarette in his mouth going, about 2 million. About 2 million. How many lines of code? So White Rabbit Object was a computer virus backdoor to hijack the computer systems of a very famous theme park. Dennis Nedry was the IT manager for this theme park, but was working for some very shady underground people. Come on, folks, come on. White Rabbit Object. Yeah. Obscure reference, apparently, but not that obscure. As always, great episode. Thanks, Anthony Murphy. Thank you, Anne McCallum. And I hope that it doesn't get too cold too soon in Ontario. Sorry I can't help with the Irish. I'm studying Welsh right now. Wow. Well, hats off. I would love to be multilingual, polyglot. Enjoyed that, says Alan. We enjoyed having your company, Alan. Hope you're in good form. And nobody coming back on the White Rabbit Object. What movie was it from? It was from the movie. I'm going to say it really slowly just to give somebody a chance to jump in. The White Rabbit Object, computer virus, famous theme park. Spared no expense. Richard Attenborough. Yes! Barbara Murphy! Woohoo! Bullabus more. And just after Barbara Murphy, Morrigan or Morion, I'm not sure about the pronunciation. Yes, indeed, Jurassic Park. Dennis Nedry hijacked the computer system to override everything so that he could go and nick some dinosaur embryos and sell them to somebody on the black market. We'll be welcoming Moncon to Seattle this week. Thanks for introducing us. Brilliant stuff, Kelly Nikelly. I am sharing the stage with Moncon in Clonakilty on the 5th of November. He and I are doing a live conversation, and it's going to be recorded. Yeah, so look forward to that. Who framed Roger Rabbit? No. Tato Park. Only kidding, says Alan. Yeah, no, it was a little bit bigger than that. A little bit older than that. Yes, indeed. Um, yes, yeah, Barbara Murphy, you win a white rabbit, says Lexi. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Moncon shared something about that today, actually. He and I going to have a live conversation. We had a conversation, of course, with you good people during the lockdowns. Live Irish Myths in Conversation. I think he was the second one we did. Was it Eddie Lenihan the first and Moncon was the second? Something very close to that, anyway. Yeah, so looking forward to seeing Moncon on the stage and chatting with him. And hopefully that'll be a good, lively, and fascinating conversation. And number 2, Live Irish Myths in Conversation, episode number 2. Was that not the chip virus? Don't know, Brendan. Sorry. But that's just me. Never mind. Okay. Thank you all. Have a great one. It's Monday for Michael Trott. It's Tuesday if you're watching from, I was going to say the Southern Hemisphere, but the Eastern Hemisphere. Very good Tuesday to you. Great fun. Thoroughly enjoyable. Feel ready for battle, says Tom King. Thank you, Anthony, and friends of the two. Take care out there. Until next time. Yes, indeed, Tom. And keep that forge burning brightly. Barbara, carved in stone in Germany. I have a couple of opal carved in Idar Oberstein. Wow. And in the meantime, all that remains for me to say is get well, Barbara. Yes, I agree with that, Lexi. Get well, Barbara. I hope you're feeling better for the next one. All that remains. We enjoyed your company, Miriam. For me to say is Ichawa, Cullosol, Slaughter Foal, and most importantly, Tog Gobuge. Take it easy. We'll see you. I'll probably do a quick live stream when I get the calendars to show you what the actual final one looks like. So get your orders in now and we'll get them out to you so you'll have them well in advance for Christmas.